don't know, if you think about this sort of in historical context, that this university is hosting this week, no protesters and no problems. We've come a long, long, long way since I was here. So good on you. I'm Shepard Smith. I was at Ole Miss from 83 to 87, did not graduate, but got a decent job. And and I grew up in Holly Springs, went to Marshall Academy, and moved away and traveled a lot, and we'll talk about all that later. This is our panel, and you may notice here for Diversity Week, we got a bunch of dudes, which the irony does not escape the organizers, I'm told. They sent out a "won't you come join us" sort of note to Ole Miss friends and loved ones, and these guys were willing to join us, which is fantastic. No ladies were willing to join us, which is their problem. So today for Diversity, we have 4 guys. If you would, just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and why you're here.
My name is Kells Johnson. I am a assignment editor. Excuse me, what's my job? No, I'm an assignment editor with Fox 17 Nashville. I graduated in 2014 with a degree in broadcast journalism. I'm gay. I'm also engaged. I'm from Louisville, Mississippi, which is a very small town south of here, and I've been in Nashville for about 3 years.
Home of Andy Kennedy.
Yes.
And who else? Van Chancellor, former Lady Rebels coach.
Yeah.
Fantastic guy. Thank you. And you?
I'm Martin Bartlett. I graduated in 2005 from, it wasn't even the Meek School then,
Yeah.
way back when, if you can imagine such a time. I call myself a broadcast journalist emeritus. I did a stint at television stations in both El Paso and Austin, Texas, covering local politics. Then I moved into the world of PR, both in the public sector, and now I work for a small boutique firm in El Paso.
Great, thanks.
I'm Hayes Burchfield. I went to undergrad here from 2000 to 2004. I was a journalism political science double major. And when I graduated, I went to DC and worked for a political consulting firm. And then Democrats didn't do so well in 2004, so I became a newspaper reporter in Virginia and North Carolina. And really enjoyed that, and then decided to go back to law school and decided to come back here. And so went to law school here, graduated in 2010. While I was at law school here, I founded Outlaw, which is the student organization at the law school, which is it's a safe space for LGBTQ people and creates advocacy for issues important to the LGBT community. And I'm really proud of all what Outlaw has been doing at our law school. And so I went back to my hometown of Eupora in 2010 and opened up a law practice there. And so things are going very well. I have an attorney working for me and another one on the way. He's in the audience. So, and my husband, he and I got married here on campus at the Parish Church Chapel a little over a year ago, March 12th. So I always enjoy coming back here to Oxford.
Great, thanks.
My name's Sid Williams. I'm maybe the only person who knows where Louisville is because I'm from Philadelphia.
Right down the road.
Probs. I graduated in 2013, again, broadcast journalism with as many PR classes as I could take. From there, I moved to Savannah, Georgia, and started working for the Savannah College of Art and Design. I was then based in New York, where I met my fiance, who also happened to be small-town Pensacola native. So we've recently moved back to Pensacola, and I am the executive director of the Pensacola Little Theater and Cultural Center.
Nice. Give them all a big round of applause. So ask the outside world what the LGBT life is like at Ole Miss, and I'm guessing they'll look at you like you have 5 heads. But it's my understanding that things aren't bad. Tell me about your experience as an undergrad, as it relates to LGBT matters.
My experience, I think, was a little bit different. This is the place where I became comfortable being myself, being who I am. My entering into the university, I was not completely 100% out. I actually made a lot of decisions that weren't necessarily reflective of really who I am. Because I thought that made me look cool, or I thought that would get me into this fraternity or this organization. And as the years went on, those things kind of fell away, and I became comfortable being who I really was, and loving myself. And the moment that happened, I started to actually see more opportunities present themselves, and more doors open for me.
It's amazing what a little true will do, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Change everything. What about you? LGBT at Ole Miss. You said 05, right?
05.
Yeah.
I'll be very candid. One of the reasons, and this is actually a very personal moment that I don't think I've shared very often, one of the reasons I came to Ole Miss was because I wasn't comfortable with the fact that I was gay. And so this was a place that I felt I could come, and there was absolutely no imperative that I come out.
Right.
I could be who I thought I wanted to be. To your point, a little bit of true will do anybody some good. After 4 years, I was out and had a boyfriend, and life went on. So it was really one of those places where I chose Ole Miss because I didn't think it'd be easy to be gay
And
here.
were you guys out around campus and stuff? Like a
Yeah, I
straight
mean,
couple?
we had some, I mean, believe it or not, the journalism school kind of is where, you might find a friendly face or two. And we did. And so, yeah, I mean, when we did come, he was already out. When I came out, it was absolutely the least interesting thing in the world.
Yeah.
No one cared. It just wasn't a thing.
Even here.
Even
as
at Ole
outsiders would
Miss.
say.
Even at Ole Miss, way back then.
Well, my coming out was a little bit more traumatic, I think.
I didn't say it wasn't traumatic.
So first and second year, freshman and sophomore year undergrad, I didn't identify as gay. And junior year, I was closeted. And then it was the summer before my senior year when I came out. And so starting back the senior year, and I mean, I'd been president of the Student Alumni Council, and I was, active in my fraternity. And when I came out, my roommate, he moved out this same exact day. Like as soon as he found out that I was telling people, he moved out.
You might catch it.
So
Never know.
yeah. But I mean, most my friends who were true friends were very supportive. It was, just some people who were uncomfortable with it. So it was a process that you had to work through that I'm sure you did too. But, we were undergrads at the same time. I was a year older than Martin. But, yeah, I mean, on the overall, it was good.
And around campus, you were out in school, right? And around campus, was that ever a thing?
Not really.
Or at the library or wherever you went?
I mean, I'm not going to say that there was never some type of subtle slur or, snicker in my direction. But I mean, I'm gay. I've always been gay. Everyone's always known that I was gay. I came out before I came to Ole Miss. But it was actually a very, very easy transition. Again, coming from a very small town, this was big city life. So
Right.
a lot
From
more
Louisville.
options.
Wait, from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. But it was a pleasant experience for me. All of my friends were very supportive. I surrounded myself with people that were of like mind, and so it was a really good experience at Ole Miss.
This campaign about rejecting stereotypes, what might have stereotyped you, and how did you respond to that stereotype? Because today is kind of about stereotypes and how we ought to just really leave that alone. Culture has sort of taught us, there's the tall, big black one, and there's the little white girl, and she's the victim, and they're the perpetrators, and that's how it is, So they're trying to wise up and realize that actually that's not how it always is. And stereotypes happen that way with black people, with gay people, with everybody.
Yeah, so a lot of times the stereotype that I got while I was here, and just mainly in a lot of social circles that I was in, was that because I'm gay, I'm not necessarily masculine, or I don't know certain things that other guys know how to do. My friend who's in the audience knows whenever there's something going wrong with a car, or there's handiwork that needs to be done, I'm going to call. Just
Can I
because
get your cell phone number?
Yes,
Can't do that.
So, I mean, and a lot of times that's sometimes perceived as a shock, or that seen as a shock by some people because they're like, oh, well, I didn't think that because you're gay. Well,
Why don't you just bake?
right. You know what I mean? What does that have to do with my sexuality? That's just one part of who I am, but, there are other things that make me me.
Right. You're not defined by your gayness or your blackness or anything.
Exactly.
You define yourself.
Exactly.
And that happens here.
Yeah, in several instances, it definitely happened here. But like I said, mainly in social circles. when I experienced that, getting to know someone who may not be used to being friends with a gay person, who's never had a gay friend.
Right.
You know, they have a lot of questions and they have a lot of stereotypes that you kind of have to break down and just help them better understand the narrative.
Yeah, like the dumb jock. Everybody deals with this in one way or another. What were your stereotype experiences?
I think it's actually an interesting degree of stereotyping that goes on within the LGBT community. We don't think...
We judge.
We judge. And I absolutely would never qualify myself as being like this really, butch guy. But sometimes when I post like a photo on Facebook of I went hiking or I was out in the yard, like, with a sledgehammer or something, doing something in the yard, all my gay friends go crazy. They're like, oh, you're so butch. I'm like, no, actually, this is just who I am. I mean, being gay is part of who I am. Working in the yard on Saturday is who I am. And I think until we agree to stop foisting those stereotypes on other folks in the LGBT community, can we really expect everybody to come out? I mean, why would you expect somebody who may not be in any way stereotypically gay to come into this community where we're saying, hey, if you're here, you have to live up to the stereotypes? It doesn't make sense to expect someone to come into our community or come into our world and live to stereotypes that don't fit them.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I think I want to comment on that because I think a lot of times people, and especially in the gay community, don't understand that there is a racial undertone. Being black and being gay, I've been around gay groups, white gay groups, and a lot of times I think sometimes they're a little hesitant to get to talk to me because they automatically think I'm gonna be this feisty, in your face, waving my finger, always being really opinionated, and that's not necessarily, the case for every single person. I think conversation definitely will eliminate some of that tension, some of those boundaries.
I wonder if we've created some of this stereotype of our own as a way to differentiate ourselves as we went through this period where, we're loud and proud. Now we want to just sort of blend in and be like everybody else. That's not an immediate thing. It's, if we're going to wag our fingers, as you put it, and enjoy our mimosas at brunch, then, you got to roll with it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not really something to be that keyed up about.
My first job as a political consultant, so they wanted me to, as an openly gay man, advise them on LGBT issues in the different political organizations that I was advising and the different political campaigns. So, as the only openly gay one in my office, I got all those questions. And then when I was a newspaper reporter, being openly gay, I got all those stories assigned to me. So, it was...
I don't. It's different.
Yeah. I mean, and these were small town daily newspapers. It was the Martinsville Bulletin in Martinsville, Virginia, and in Shelby Star in Shelby, North Carolina. So, I mean, I didn't mind it. It's just what the editors did. And of course, now that I'm, my own boss, I'm an attorney, I get to, basically choose whether or not I represent people or not. So I like being my own boss.
Stereotype-wise, I was a quintessential OMG, Ole Miss gay.
I've never heard that before.
Which I think, by the way, what a difference in terms of how many years. There was no stereotypical Ole Miss gay way back when.
There is now.
There is now. I'm going to say I coined that one myself.
I like that.
But, I mean, I guess, I don't know if it was a stereotype, but more of a role that I was always asked to play. And it was always the role of the entertainment. I was always up for that one last drink, or, he doesn't need to sleep. He'll definitely close the bar. And I was always very tired and very hungover, but it was, that's kind of the persona, or the stereotype, I guess, that you get. All in all, a very good experience. Again, I think it's really important with who you choose to surround yourself with and the situations and the environment that you put yourself in to maybe not get as many stereotypes as maybe another person.
Do you find yourself, any of you, rejecting the kinds of stereotypes that you might go along with because you're living your own reality being stereotyped by others? I mean, I like to use the dumb jock analogy because it seems like a safe space. But, look at that idiot. And then the guy throwing the baseball is actually with a 4.0 and about to go to Harvard. And, who's the idiot? That would be me, But do you find yourself rejecting or glomming onto, or anybody? No.
I mean, in all of my lines of work, there's no room for stereotypes. There's no room for really seeing anyone other than a human being. I've worked in higher education. Now that I run a nonprofit, I mean, it's my duty to really just give back to the community and make a difference in everyone's life. So yes, I've definitely had my eyes open to stick away from identifying people by anything other than their character.
The next question that the organizers have put to us is this. This campaign is also about the fact that all of us have many roles in life other than our sexuality. Duh, obviously. But what are some of the things about your life that you might want to share, said the organizers? That wouldn't have been mine, but that's what they thought. Yeah. Okay. What are some of the joys? I didn't like it. I figured I'd throw it out there. What are some of the joys and challenges that you face as a professional because of your sexual orientation? And I would say let's start with the joys of it, because I don't know. I think it's amazing. I can't imagine being stuck straight, But I think that there are a lot of opportunities. We meet each other. It's like smokers,
Right.
They meet each other because they're all outside smoking and no one else does. Well, we meet each other because we're all gay, and so there are a lot of joys out of this. And I would say first maybe share some of that if you can.
I work in a newsroom with about maybe a staff of about 50 newsers, so people who actually work in news, and of course you have sales and HR, but...
Yeah, we don't count them.
Right. And specifically in the news department, there's about maybe 8 to 10 of us who are openly gay. And it...
In Nashville?
Yeah, in Nashville.
Cool.
So for me, it was really comforting when I got there that I had a group of people who received me with open arms. But in that, there have also been a few instances where there was someone who's working there who didn't really feel like they could be a part of our social group because they weren't gay. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I guess it's kind of like, it's almost weird because we're just being ourselves, and we're not trying to keep anybody else out, which is actually what happens to us sometimes when we
really
want to be a part of heterosexual groups or groups that are predominantly heterosexual for whatever reason. So I guess for me, it's working in the workplace. I kind of don't really experience anything negative because I've been welcomed with such open arms for being who I am.
You get some negative when you give some negative, I've kind of found. I have some colleagues who've gotten some negative lately. Any thoughts on this?
My experience actually transcends the professional life. It's just kind of, as I grow and as I move forward in my life, the fact that I'm gay is something that, I don't want to say it's a token I give you or it's anything, but it's just kind of like, if you're going to be with me now, if you're going to be with me at this age, if you're going to be my friend now, you got to know that. And there's some folks in my life who, you knew from childhood or you knew from way back when, and they just kind of fall off. And that's kind of an interesting break point. I'm like, if I never felt the need to come out to you at some point in my life, we're probably, or I didn't feel like I could, certainly in that case, you're just kind of in the past, and this is my now. And so it's kind of a marker of who is now.
Mm-hmm. And so I live in Newport, which is a small town, a little over 2,000 people. And having grown up there, my parents are there, my grandfather's there, most people know me. And so most people already know I'm gay. But every once in a while, I get a new client that comes in and, sees my wedding ring and says, asks me, well, who's your wife? Who are you married to? And so I have to, come out to them and say, well, he's Josh, and he's a realtor, and so, it's, it might be a little uncomfortable at the beginning, but, I am a whole lot happier, now than back when I was a junior undergrad, not being honest with people. So it's, being honest with all my friends, everyone I come across with, has made me a lot happier.
Mine kind of ties into yours. I think my joys and my challenges are very interconnected. Because you say, people look down at your ring and they have questions. It's my personal life and my professional life often mix because, as journalists, we realize that everyone has a story to tell, but we're not the only people who realize that. And I meet with people very intimately in very network type settings, and not even halfway through maybe the business conversation. So, are you gay? Like who, how, small town?
Do they always do the hands?
Always.
It's
always. Sometimes like a this, but not really.
Or their voice goes up an octave, almost like they really
Right.
don't want to ask
Right.
it, you know.
But it's never in a condescending way. It's always in a pleasant way, but it's a joy because then you get to kind of tell your story, but it's also a challenge because you're also trying to be a professional. But it always kind of loops back to, oh, I want to talk about your situation. No, I really need your $300,000 is what I need. You know?
I don't want to stereotype you guys, but you seem like a mostly straight crowd, which is interesting. I kind of felt like we would be preaching to the choir today. But this is good because one of the things I was going to say in the next hour was, well, the people who need to be here aren't here. But maybe they are. Oh, I'll get it. And with that, I ask you, I know you were. When were you bullied? And what was that? You don't have to start everything. Anybody can start.
But he does such a good. This is his third
He does.
panel of the
He's a good
day. I mean,
starter.
he's a pro.
Very good starter.
I'll be happy to start. I think for me, the bullying was really much more in high school, middle school. By the time I came to college, it really wasn't. I never felt bullied at Ole Miss. I didn't feel like I could really be who I was, but I don't.
Ever feel bullied in the workplace?
I've been incredibly fortunate to work for organizations that institutionally value diversity and work very hard to make sure that diversity in the workplace isn't just an add-on, it is baked into the cake. And I would encourage everyone to make sure that you are always in a place where you are institutionally valued.
Or if you're in a place where they need your help, that you try to help them.
Precisely.
But I agree with that because
Wait, you never got thrown in a locker?
I was never thrown in a locker.
Boring.
No, but I also had like I'm 6'2" and the shortest man in my family, so I think we had like an intimidating
All right,
family.
well.
But I agree with you because we can either be very realistic gays or we can be kind of naive. And, we always, whether you're in school, whether it's the workplace, always do your research. Don't put yourself in a situation going into it that it may be a hardship. When I worked at SCAD, it was a private art school. I knew that all of the benefits already would tie to my partner. I knew the vice president of my organization was a gay man, and so it's going into that. I knew that was going to be a pleasant workplace. Now I run a theater. I feel like kind of the gays fly in the theater. So sometimes get hard, and you have to do a job that maybe you necessarily don't want to do. But do your research. You never stop studying, even though you've left college. You need to really, really think about where you go because you can kind of dictate that yourself for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't go work at Fox News, probably.
You might.
So
They ain't all like that guy. We'll talk about that next time.
So I actually have experienced being bullied for being gay for quite some time. I think in the Black community, there's definitely an idea that being gay is probably the worst sin you can commit next to murder. So it's something that I've experienced from childhood up until now. I still actually struggle with explaining to people who I'm close to in my life, in my family, the importance of not discriminating, the importance of understanding that being gay is not a choice. It's been something that I've dealt with all the way into college. Like I told you, the first 2 years that I was here, I was on the down low, and I honestly was bullied into being on the down low because people for so long from my hometown and throughout my life never really embraced me or accepted that part of me. There were even people in my childhood when I was growing up that would tell me, stop doing that, that's gay. Don't do that, that's too gay. Little girls do that, boys don't do that. So there's a lot in my background that has made me who I am based off of bullying. So.
I wasn't bullied very often. It was more of shunned. So, when I came out and in my fraternity, there were different people who just didn't want to talk with me anymore. The year before, we were always going sporting events together, but when I was openly gay, they didn't want to be seen with me, and it was more of a shunning thing. It was
It's hurtful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you find out who your friends are, but it's it's not as if I'm doing something that bothers you that I can change and then you'll be cool with it. There's no opportunity for me to change it. There's not an alternative. So, you know, you can deal with that or fuck you.
Right.
You know? Because, you know, right?
Right. I mean, I'm not going anywhere.
But that's not the right way to approach it. That's not the right way to approach it, which is the next question on this list, and that is, how should heterosexual friends be explained? How should you explain to them how it is that you need to treat us? Like we are some category. Well, I guess we are. Let's see. How should someone respond to heterosexual friends, family, or coworkers who are negative about an LGBTQ person?
Well, I think it's safe to say that there will always be people that, regardless of your character and who you are, don't like you because you're gay. But for the most part, I try to put myself in their shoes. You know, when I came out to my family, which again wasn't the biggest surprise in the world, but still, we've all battled with it and it's happening to us. And so, I really try to put myself in their shoes and say, you know, if this took me 5-7 years to come to terms with, I do not expect you just to be like happy-go-lucky overnight. So you really do have to think about it in that sense, just to kind of get into their mindset. But it's my firm belief that you should live a life and treat people the way that you want to be treated. And that's not always going to be reciprocated the way that you want it to. But really, I've been very fortunate because I treat people with kindness in a very classic and accepting way. And so that's, I think, typically what I get given back, because you would just be a really bad person to not do what you're being given.
So what is it that you say to straight people who have a problem that helps them not have a problem? Because I think what it's talking about is, like, you hear them talking about somebody else, not necessarily you, who's got the G, you know?
You know, I think you actually raise a really interesting point about this idea of you have to give people, on one hand, you absolutely should expect nothing less and accept nothing less than people being really good to you. Because as humans, we're all here together and we all got to be good to each other. If you're not going to be good to me for reason X, Y, or Z, that's on you. But what I would also say is incredibly important, what I've found to be incredibly effective, is to give people the opportunity to be good to you. The very first wedding registry gift my husband and I got was from my 3-year-old Sunday school teacher at First Presbyterian Church in Pascagoula, Mississippi.
Sleepy little town.
Sleepy little town. Got that squirrel. but if I hadn't given her the opportunity to be good to me, I would have only been cheating myself. And so I think that's the way to be. Be open.
Don't give them the hand. That's my dad.
I typically like to place a heterosexual person in the mindset of a homosexual person, which takes an open mind to do, because a lot of people aren't open and willing to hear you all the time. But one thing that I always ask my friends who are straight, or someone who I'm trying to get to understand me, is what makes you attracted to someone of the opposite sex? There's nothing in your brain. There's not a little man up there that says, hey, she's hot, go after her, or hey, he's hot, go after him. You automatically are. There's nothing that tells you to. There's not a choice involved. It's just attraction is attraction. And it's the same thing for someone who's gay. I don't choose to like a man. I just automatically do. Just like you automatically like a woman or a female. There is no step in between that. That's just the way it is. Every time I present someone with that, they're like, I never thought of it that way. And I'm like, it's so simple.
In Eupora, I'm president of the Rotary Club, and I'm secretary of the Eupora Lions Club, and the ages of the other people skew older. And some of the older people in the clubs they tell me that I am the only openly gay person that they know. And so, you know, when I came back home and I felt like the educator on all things LGBTQ, when I was, talking with these older people there in Eupora. So, they would ask me questions about openly gay people they would see on TV, and then they would compare that with me, and I was just like, well, no, I mean, I'm, like the kid that you knew, that grew up here. So I think it's, opened their eyes, a little, more understanding on their part.
And I want to talk about that, but I also want to backtrack to the question that we asked, but we didn't like it. But I'm going to kind of play to that because I guess the question was, what if you're not playing the gay role? What is your role? And that kind of ties into how I handle people, heterosexual people, when dealing with gays. Yes, we can talk about giving them a chance and the opportunity and always being kind, but you have to have thick skin. You really do, and you have to realize that not everyone is going to like you. You don't like everyone. But the role I think that we first need to play, no matter what our sexual orientation is falling in love with ourselves and becoming a very strong person. That's going to be in the workforce, that's going to be in relationships, that's going to be when people don't like you. Whatever the case is, you need to be very self-confident and self-sufficient. And so that is one of the major roles that you need to play and be able to, if you give people the chance that we give them and they don't take it and they don't like you, okay, whatever.
I'm going to complicate things for just a second because
Oh, good.
we're going to talk geography for a second. So I live in a community that is 80% Hispanic, 90% of the community, 90% Hispanic, 80% of the community speaks primarily Spanish in the home. So what I'm going to encourage everybody to do is remember that some of these geographical realities that we see in the Deep South are absolutely not typical outside of this part of the world. I have never in my life ever been asked, in my professional life, been asked to explain what it is to be gay. And I would just really encourage you don't have to bear that. That is absolutely not something that one person should be asked to do. I would really encourage everyone to remember that a lot of what you're seeing is kind of a snapshot of where you are, and don't be afraid to go far and find your place, because your place may not be here.
Amen.
True. So we're all media. So for students who are going out into the media world and are going to cover all sorts of issues and all sorts of things, what would be your advice about how to approach coverage of LGBTQ issues?
I think there was a similar question asked earlier in the panel. I'm going to give kind of the same answer. It's going to be hard to not keep your emotions out of it. And working in media, your job is to deliver the facts. Depending on type of work you do, you can deliver an opinion, but in my line of work, working in the newsroom, we're asked to be extremely neutral. For one, we air on the Fox station, so we're called Fox 17, and everyone thinks that we're affiliated with Fox News. So
Those opinion people.
I'm sorry. So
have a news division, but go on.
So a lot of times they feel like, oh, Fox News is biased, so Fox 17 is biased too. So one thing that we really want to focus on is remaining neutral. And in coverage of a lot of stories that involve LGBTQ communities, it's very hard for me to do that because, of course, my heart is in it.
Just drop the mic flag.
Right. So sometimes what I try to do is channel that energy into creating something positive rather than writing something I know is going to get me in trouble.
Right.
Using that negative energy to really tell the story as best as I can by using facts. So maybe just repositioning what you're feeling and making it something great.
There are probably issues beyond LGBT issues that you will care intimately about in your professional life, and I would say use the same rule for LGBT issues, for those other issues that you care deeply about. And the issue that I had success with was be overly skeptical of people you agree with, because you are more likely to give them too fair a shake than the other folks. So if it's something from a city council member that you like, if it's one time I was doing a story when I was in Austin on 6th Street, and some folks thought that, they alleged that there was a hate crime of some nature, and I was really skeptical of them because I really felt like they expected me to just lap up whatever they said. And when you dug into it, I'm sorry guys, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And so if we bend too much to the people who we agree with, we're doing no service to the community, no service to ourselves, no service to journalism, no service to the larger conversation.
Absolutely.
When I worked in Shelby, North Carolina for the Shelby Star, I liked writing about issues, and people seem to have a different week for different things. So, 1 week would be about bullying. So, you could do a plan, so you would have, a package of 5 stories that would run throughout that week that dealt with the issue of bullying, because that was the bullying week. And so, it's when I was doing both education beat and business beat, it was, talking about, well, there is no gay-straight alliance at any of the high schools in the county that I was covering. But there were some openly gay students. So, I interviewed them, their parents, wrote pieces that I thought, brought attention to the problems they were facing at the time. And some of the students did want to form a gay-straight alliance, but the school administration was not supportive. So it brought attention to that issue.
We've got to stop being so delicate and sensitive with certain issues. I don't even like the word issue. I'm not an issue. I'm a gay man. And so when we tread so lightly and try to foster or make sure we're covering correctly, we're all people. Cover the story. Don't make it about the African-American man or woman or the LGBT person. We've got to start being, not neutral is the word, but stop making it such a big deal and so separate, because it doesn't have to be very separate.
Anybody else? Aside from LGBT, if you so choose, what is it you would like the room to know about your life?
I'm a Gemini vegetarian.
I have a dog named Lucia. She's brown. I think they thought that this is a serious thing. Like, you're up here because you're gay and you're in the media. But is there something about your life that you'd just really like to tell some people? Because you have the floor for about 3 minutes. That's fine.
Well, I guess I'll be very keen. I find that question to be very strange because I would never in a million years think, I know. I would never think of myself as a gay person than everything else about me. And none of the gay people you know or you don't know or you think you know or you don't really think you know, none of them think of themselves as a gay person. I don't think of myself as married to my gay husband. I'm just married to my gay husband. I don't pay my gay mortgage. I just pay my mortgage. I mean, really, I think we kind of got to break it out of some of that really binary speak about, gay folks versus everybody else. I mean, at the end of the day, we are all humans, and whether you're gay or straight or something, wherever you fall on the scale, because gender, sexual orientation, race really is not a binary discussion. We're just here, people together in a room, and that's great.
Usually people who are in the room don't really need to hear that.
That's the truth.
Because there's a world, we can talk about how far we've come here and how great things are here, and they are, but come on now. There's still a thing going on here in the U.
And I think as well, we, especially as members of the LGBT community, really have to take a moment and inspect where we sit in kind of this continuum, because I'll be very candid, we're among friends, right? I am a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant cisgender male who happens to be gay. Mm-hmm. It would be absolutely foolish, and I think I should never fool myself into thinking that I have not had a great deal of advantage in my life just by sheer accident of birth. And it took a 60-year-old trans colleague who transitioned when she was 50 years old to say, my whole life I had white privilege and male privilege at my back. Mm-hmm. And to think about the fact that as people, we all are, I heard somebody say earlier, a bundle of privilege. We all have all these pieces and parts that inspire or inform who we are. And don't ever think for a second that because things are good for you, they're good for everybody else. And so we, I think especially, have to go out there and extend a hand to other folks.
I 100% agree.
Because our diversity agenda, our little wedge of the agenda and the equality agenda advanced really fast.
So fast.
Did. But
So
you got to
fast.
think big picture, and you have to be grateful because even from our gap at time at Ole Miss, I mean, it's definitely a different world, and so we need to use our efforts if they finally aren't needed in the LGBT community to take them somewhere else. And you said something earlier, and if we're talking about ourselves and just advice and sharing, I do think one of the greatest things that developed me as a person is travel. Is to realize that there is a bigger world out here. Because again, Philadelphia to Oxford was big, Oxford to Savannah was big, Savannah to New York was even bigger, and then you kind of can appreciate and backtrack to like a smaller Pensacola. You're not ever stuck in whatever situation that you think that you're stuck in. Not a job, not a relationship, certainly not a location. So travel and have an open mind and really just learn who you are. And whether you're gay or not, just really, really take advantage of the world that's out there, because you'll be a whole new person and a very different mindset.
Some of the clients that I've talked to who have transitioned from one gender to another, and I'm correcting their Mississippi birth certificates and getting that changed on the Mississippi birth certificate, and some of them have been Ole Miss graduates, some of them Mississippi State graduates, and just hearing, some of them are older and some of them are still in school. And so it's just interesting hearing them, come in and meet with me, tell me what all they've been through in their life, and especially the ones who are Ole Miss graduates, how their experiences at Ole Miss were so different than what I had. Some things are the same, but a lot of the times it's very different hearing it from them, and I just think that now it is so much better because especially the older generation, they seem very depressed when they could not express their gender identity when they were here at Ole Miss. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think the younger people seem a lot happier.
I kind of want to roll off of what he said when he spoke to the depression that some of the older LGBTQ people experience. Mental health is a real thing, and it's okay to go talk to someone. Having a psychologist, a therapist, whatever that may be, I think it's quite essential, and I think that a lot of people really don't tap into that resource, and it's very helpful, especially when you're transitioning, when you're coming out. A big portion of it is your mental health, and it can determine whether your physical health stays right or not, because it just has that much of an impact on you. I am proudly go see a psychologist, and I can say that it's changed my life drastically in the way that I see myself, the way that I receive others who may not necessarily accept me for who I am. Mm-hmm. And I really think that it's beneficial and it's necessary for a lot more of people in the LGBTQ community.
Hear, hear. Dr. George Weinberg, the late, great Dr. George Weinberg, who died 3 weeks ago, told me 12 years ago, right-handed or left-handed? Right-handed. Well, being gay is like being left-handed. The percentages are about the same and no one cares. It makes you a little different, sure, you're a little different. Your squiggles look different when you're left-handed. But that's about all it is. And as simple as that is, that really opened a whole floodgate of things. This is the guy who coined the word homophobe. And he was there at Stonewall. Older Jewish man, Dr. George Weinberg. I think I'm here because of him. I think I'm alive because of him. I think. So it's good to go talk to someone. Because all that they're doing is helping you listen to yourself. Mm-hmm. Right? In a perfect world. Mm-hmm. So we got a couple minutes. Anybody got any questions for these guys?
What special perspective do you think you have on the world by recognizing that you're gay?
I am very accepting of every walk of life. I don't know if that's just because I'm gay or not because I try to be. It really does, having been bullied or having just been separate from whatever everybody else was. It definitely helps you to appreciate everybody's story, which as journalists we should. But also, it just makes me a happier person. I feel like I have a knowledge in a sense that maybe not everyone has, is because maybe I've seen some light that people don't see because they aren't ever outcasts. But I take it as an advantage, really.
Yes.
It really just
Absolutely.
makes me feel as if I can share some type of knowledge or spread the word that this is okay, just to really be a good shoulder to lean on and just an example.
Yeah, empathize easier with people.
My perspective on it is an advantage too. A lot of times I think about how many people I've lost, but also how many people I've gained, and how I'm wearing one less mask than everyone else around me. I get to be a little bit more free and happy, and it's okay, and it's completely legal now. So, I kind of do. Right. Yeah.
Keep an eye on Jackson. It may go back.
So I
H.
definitely see it as an advantage, just because there's so many masks I think that we wear every single day. And when you're gay and you're openly gay, I think that kind of definitely gives you a little bit more wiggle room to wake up and go to bed saying, I had a great day.
I'm going to complicate the question now, too. I do think, it's not a special perspective that I bring because I'm gay. It's a special perspective that I bring because I'm fully self-actualized and living my authentic life. And whatever your authentic story is, as long as you're doing that, you get that same special perspective, whether you're gay or straight, black or white, rich or poor, man or woman. If you're being yourself, you got it.
And the clothes are so much better.
That's true. Anybody else? One more. Yep.
I'm still here. I teach here, and graduate as well. So my question is, what is something you wish that the university would have had or offered when you're a student that would have, even if you had a good experience, would have made it better? Just to, from my knowledge, kind of see.
Center for Diversity and Inclusion, which is what they have now. I think that that's a safe haven for a lot of students.
Really?
Absolutely.
That's great.
When I was going here, I don't know what the percentage is now, but 18% of our campus was minority, and an even smaller percentage of that was identified as LGBTQ. And just to have a center that basically is created and designed for you specifically, and with so many things that are elite at Ole Miss and so many things that are cliquish, it's almost feels kind of good to say, I'm a part of that, and you're not.
I got my thing.
Right, it's something for you. So that's one thing I wish we would have had when I got here. It's amazing because Oxford's changed so much in the school. I'm kind of jealous. I wish I was going now instead of then.
Me too.
I just think the idea of institutional support matters. That goes exactly to your point about having these things. Sometimes people think they're hokey or they're silly, but ultimately it matters because you know that the institution has a place for you. And I pulled out something, I'm not paying anybody with a credit card, but this is my Ole Miss Alumni Association card. And a year or so ago, my husband and I joined the Ole Miss Alumni Association on a family membership. And that is
Nice.
a big dadgum deal.
Yes.
Why is his name in front of mine? I don't know, he didn't go here, but nevertheless, that's a different question.
You were being polite.
Exactly. But those things matter because it means I know that he's welcome and I'm welcome. And at the end of the day, we're just here for a football game when we come back in August.
And Martin actually
30,000, very close. Join if you haven't joined.
And Martin actually wrote a letter to the Alumni Association asking that an LGBT alumni club be started. And so we went to the board, and it was a group of us, about 8, and the board unanimously voted to recognize the LGBT alumni club here at University of Mississippi Alumni
Let's
Association.
underscore that. The board of directors of the Ole Miss Alumni Association, that is a big deal. And to talk about watching folks in Jackson, the Ole Miss Alumni Association, I guarantee you, has a whole lot more to say about what's culturally accepted in this state than the legislature does.
Yeah, and they've come a long way, and they're leading us in the right direction. I'm proud of them, proud of this place.